dos&D, we've got an absolute champion, an icon in Australian boxing. Jeff Horn, welcome to the dos&D show, mate.
Thanks for having me, boys.
We're just chatting off air. We're so excited for this, Jeff. We've been looking forward to it for a very long time. And admittedly, we're not massive into boxing or combat sports or anything like that, but we're really excited to hear your story and diving into a bit about yourself. But before we do that, how's post-retirement life? How's it treating you?
Look, it's good, I guess. It's good not getting punched in the head for a living, but my memory's probably a bit better. I'm remembering a lot more things. Not that I had, too much concerns, but just I was so busy. Busy doing things when I was boxing, and it was easy to forget things.
How is training, though, post-retirement? Are you still training? Are you still keeping yourself
Is he in good nick?
You are in good nick.
Look, I feel like it's starting to change. I've got to get back to the gym and do some weights and stuff. That's all I've been doing for probably the last couple of years, but for the last few months I haven't been doing much, and I'm itching to probably get back.
You've been on Media Street, that's why. I've seen you everywhere at the moment. It never stops either, does it?
No, it doesn't. I guess it's important to stay relevant, I guess. That's the whole part of, I guess, having that somewhat fame to
brand.
Your name. Yeah, the brand. So I've got to, I guess, keep it going, keep pumping it out.
For sure.
Have you completely ruled out a chance of a return or comeback? Because we have heard, obviously, the retirement word a few times, and that might last a year or 2 years or even 5 years. Is it totally ruled out? Is there a chance we might see you in the ring again?
Yeah, look, I'm happy with what I've done and in the past in boxing, and I don't think there's a probably money figure out there that could draw me back into the sport. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah. Look, they've tried before and they cut me short just under my amount that I said last time, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm not doing it. So
it's been a few years now. So has that been maybe like a once a year kind of phone call? How does that come about?
Yeah, there's normally something that comes up. I either have an Instagram message from someone overseas, or a local promoter goes, do you want to jump on this show?
We need to sell some tickets, Jeff. Jump on board.
So I'm just like, nah, not unless you can give me over $1 million to fight again against someone that's probably not going to kill me. Yeah. But you can't guarantee that either. So
it's a good point.
You'll find as we go through this podcast, our show is not linear. We don't normally start from the start and work our way through. So we jump around a little bit. And already you've mentioned something that's pricked my ears, because we were telling you off air, we're Melbourne boys. We love our footy. Concussion is the big hot topic at the moment. So now post-retirement, how do you feel about things like concussion? You mentioned, getting smacked in the head for a living.
Yeah.
When you think about your kids, you've got 3 kids under 5 or 5 and under. How has that mindset changed from when you were a 20-year-old?
100%. I guess ever since I had children, it changed, I guess, my probably attitude towards the sport. Not that it was like a switch. I was like, I thought differently about it, but my priorities changed, and I loved being a dad. It was the best thing that's happened to me in my life. And even though I got that world title win in front of that 52,000 people, and that was an extraordinary feeling, but having kids is next level, and I want to be able to remember them when I'm older. And if I keep getting punched in the head too many times, you don't know what time it is that you can't go backwards with your brain. So I'm protecting myself. I'm not bad now, but I'm protecting myself from potentially in the future that happening.
What might be a really pretty naive question or silly question, but like post-concussion, what are the feelings? And I'm sure it's prolonged symptoms.
Look, I didn't really notice anything when I was fighting. Like, you'd get hit and punched and things, and you might have a sore head or a bruising around the top of your head and stuff like that. But I didn't feel the symptoms of concussion, even though I'm sure I would have had it. Yeah. But I guess, it's something that you don't think of. When you're in sport and you've had a concussion, you just think, you might have a little headache for a little bit, and then that's it. I might have had a little headaches. It's hard to remember back, even a couple of years ago now from sparring. I'm sure I would have, but I can't remember it.
Is it a genuine fear of yours, and maybe even other boxers? Like, do they? Because I mean, when I talk about concussions, or I hear concussions. To be honest, it sounds bad, but you kind of roll your eyes a little bit, because we were brought up, similar vintage, and again, playing footy in Victoria. I mean, I had 5, 6 concussions as a kid. I didn't care. You'd play the next week. There was no stopping. And as you grow older, that mindset continues. Oh, just get on with it. But is it a genuine fear now that it's going to affect you at some stage in your life? Or do you not think about it?
You don't think about it, not when you're involved in the sport, I guess. Even though there's a lot of shade getting thrown over at the moment, but when you're in it, you're like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
that's exactly an attitude of an athlete. And as a fighter, that's the attitude that you had to have. You had to go, no, I'm all in. I'll do anything to win. And that's the attitude I had pre-children. After children, the attitude kind of shifted a little bit to go, there's more important things in my life in life than myself. So they were the more important things.
Having 3 girls, can you take us back? We know a bit about your story and why you started boxing, and especially now what you're doing with Bully Proof Australia. Can you share a bit about that story and why you actually even began boxing?
Yeah. So at the beginning, I guess in probably grade 8, even probably a little bit of primary school as well, I was getting bullied. The kids probably didn't even realise they were doing it back in the day, but just simple name calling all the time. Then it turned into physical bullying, where just silly things, someone pushing you over, someone else sitting behind you, so like that type of thing. And I eventually fought back, didn't win the fights, and the rest is history. I was like, well, I've got to go learn how to protect myself, and that's where I went to the martial arts gym / boxing gym.
Wow.
And when did you fall in love with it? When was that moment where you go, this is what I want to do?
Oh, look, I did martial arts for probably about a year, and then in that time frame, so I was probably 18, 19, doing that, and at the same time I was trying to make it in football in NRL. So it was after probably that year of that self-defense that I did, and I started doing boxing. I was like, I love this. I think I should do this I should have a crack.
And was there a coach that actually said to you, "Geez, Jeff, you're not bad, mate. I reckon you got something in you."
Well, that's what probably swayed me towards the boxing pathway.
Someone saw potential in you.
Yeah, I was with Glenn, and from the very beginning, and he's like, "I think you've got the potential." He's like, "I can take you to the Olympics in 4 years' time and make you a world champion in another 4 years after that," and he was pretty close.
Yeah, very close.
That's amazing. So, again, your first fight, talk us through that. Like professional or semi-professional fight, as in the boxing ring.
Yeah.
Take us to that moment.
Is this in the pros or in the amateurs?
Well, let's go amateurs.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
So, in the amateurs, I had my very first fight at the Acacia Ridge Hotel, and I won that one by stoppage, and I think that was in the second round.
And how old were you then?
I think I was 20.
Okay.
At the time I had my first fight. And then after that, I went to the Queensland state titles at Beanley. That was my second and third fight, those titles, where I won them.
Wow.
Yeah. I walked into it and they're like, what are you doing here? How many fights you had? One other fight, not in the organisation that they were though. And they're like, rightio, this guy's going to get hurt.
You seem like a really humble person. So in those moments, like, do you tell people that you're I'm about to go and fight my first proper, amateur boxing fight? Are you telling all your mates? Are you telling family? Are they coming to what? Or do you keep that under wraps?
No, I tell them. I let my friends and family know that that's what I'm doing, and if you want to come watch it or support it, I'm doing it.
Because it just seems so blasé the way you say, I went and fought and, went all right. I was like, I wonder if actually he told anyone. Like,
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure in the pros it was more, you had to sell tickets. So you really needed support from your family, your friends, your businesses around the place to make sure that you could, I guess, promoters would put you on their shows to go, this guy can sell.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. So I know we're skipping forward a little bit for the moment, but you just mentioned you have to sell your own tickets. That's something that I had no idea about. Yeah. So how does that work? Tell us why and how it works to actually push yourself up the ranks to be able to eventually, years and years down the line, you become world champ.
Yeah. Well, some of the promoters give you, the deal that they might give you is go, well, if you sell 5 tables and 50 tickets, then basically you can keep the money from those 5 tables and 50 tickets.
Okay.
So that's kind of how my deals back in the day kind of probably worked.
And they're profiting from drinks and that's what they're just bums on seats.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what's in
I
it for
guess
them.
so.
Yeah.
Plus they're selling all the rest of the tables
Okay.
on the night, even though they've got to pay other fighters as well. But
Sure.
they're hoping you'll draw in more than what they're giving you.
I see. Yeah, and like because we loved our WWE as kids, obviously. but is this like to promote yourself? Are you having to, or are you just saying, look to your mates, look, can you do us a favor and come watch me and support? Or are you trying to like prep yourself up as this character almost? Or is there any of that kind of stuff involved to get bums on seats? Or
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in me to try and like act like someone else to try and, I guess, sell myself in that way. So I just like, I'll just be myself.
Yeah.
And I'm good at boxing, so I'll just see if that gets me the wins. People might want to watch me more, and I'll take on whoever. I didn't care. So in all my career, I was always shooting up at the top guys, and they would eventually go, yeah, sure, we'll fight you. And then I fought them and beat them.
It's probably a great little segue, because one thing we did want to ask you today, which was, what are your thoughts on the whole YouTube boxing scenario going on at the moment in the current world? Because if you asked Daniel who his favourite boxer was, he'd probably say Jake Paul. But like, what are your thoughts on that? And when you say that, the bums on seats aspect, that just seems very much that.
Yeah, look, boxing is a business. It's selling tickets and pay-per-views and all that type of thing. So these YouTubers, I guess, know how to sell themselves, and that turns into tickets as well in boxing events, because people are like, I'd like to see the fight. Everyone kind of wants to see a fight. When you're at school and there's a fight happening, people run over and go, oh, there's a fight happening.
Oh, yeah.
Deep down, we all love that.
You can't help. It's just a natural instinct to go, oh, what's happening? Like, and have a look. But so that's happening in the real world with these YouTubers going, oh, I'm going to have a fight. And then everyone's like, oh, I'm interested in this now. I've heard this guy's fighting, and let's see how good he is.
Well, it's even coming across now in the NRL and AFL and all these other platforms of now suddenly they're getting in the ring and boxing. But as a true pro boxer, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's good for the sport, bad for the sport? Do you look down on it? Do you watch the fights? Do you dislike it? How do you feel?
I think it's good for the sport. For a main reason is those guys are normally the head, the main card.
Yeah.
So, and normally the undercard fighters are actually boxers.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So they're not going to put on a whole card of basically footballers.
Yep.
Sometimes they do, but quite regularly they'll put on a footballer fight or a YouTuber fight or something, and have all these undercard fighters. So the people that go to watch those YouTubers start seeing the other boxers going, oh, this guy's actually quite good, even better than the main fight that we went and watched, and they get interested and then they follow them. So it's good for them to go. They're gaining these more fans along the way because of the YouTubers drawing them in.
Did you ever get a tap on the shoulder to some of these athletes, whether it's league players, AFL players, for a bit of advice when they were going into fight?
Have I been tapped on the shoulder from the AFL players or something?
From any of those guys who are obviously trying to, they're going into another code, just maybe it's for fame or whatever it is, and they're trying to promote these fights. Did any of these guys, these athletes who are coming to boxing just for their exhibition aspect, did they ask for any advice?
Oh, look, not really. Not that I can really think of, because normally those guys have been trained by someone that they've trusted in. They've gone, oh, I'm going to hook up with this trainer and he's going to train me all the basics and things and what I need to know. There's not really too much I can give advice on a fight day or something to one of those fighters to really change their momentum for a victory.
Yeah, and when you watch it, or if you watch it, what do you think about the quality, and how quickly would you handle that? How long would they last against a Hornet?
Look, I would feel fairly confident that I would be able to handle them, but some of them are big boys as well.
Yeah.
Big shots. So that's, I guess, the equalizer in my skill level. I've definitely got the skill level above those guys, but sometimes I don't mind taking a shot. And if I was to take a shot against one of those big guys, it wouldn't go down very well. So I don't know.
What's a shot that you didn't like? So I'm sure you were comfortable if someone knew a weakness of yours, but you're happy that they might have, knew that weakness. What's one of the weaknesses you hated your competitor or your opponent knowing about?
Oh, I didn't have too many weaknesses, to be honest. I guess
I like he's warming up
now. Look, mentally, I guess I thought I was good in kind of every area. It was just that my fitness level, for some reason, always I would have a dip in my fight, and normally it was around that round 9 mark. So I guess fighters started to get onto that. I think Michael Zarafa got onto that. Tim Tszyu probably got onto that, and they were the last probably couple of fights that I had where I had losses. So knowing that around that time in a fight where I start getting tired and I stoop down in my energy levels, that's when they come for me.
So all right. Well, what about your strengths then? So you didn't have many weaknesses. What was your one wood that you just, that everyone was scared of in your prime? What did you feel most confident about your game going into fights?
Just awkwardness. I guess
Really?
my fighting style compared to a lot of other fighting styles, because I'm with the trainer that has a martial arts background, is a strong martial arts background. I had that martial arts to begin with, and that footwork and off rhythm kind of feinting and attacks that kind of threw a lot of opponents, and they didn't know how I moved because I moved differently to the other boxers that they were moving against.
When you went on these incredible runs of just win after win after win, which was pretty much your whole career anyway, but your mindset going into the fights, how did you walk into the ring thinking I'm not like there's no way this guy's got me, or like did you have that kind of attitude where you're like I just can't be beaten?
Well, not to that extent, but the belief is always there. Is like I know I can win this fight. I've just got to put everything that I've done in training and the knowledge that I've gotten from the sport and from my trainer, and use that against this guy, and that should be enough to get the victory. And 9 times out of 10, or probably not even 9 times out of 10, because in my amateur career I lost 18 out of 66 fights. So
Here you go.
yeah, nearly 1 in 3.
It's incredible.
Isn't it interesting though? Like no one would know about that. Everyone knows about your record currently in the pros. It's really interesting hearing that. I'd love to hear about your training camps, like your camps before battle. Like, can you give us a bit of an insight into, is the martial arts aspect different style of training with that coach? Are your camps different to other boxing camps?
Yeah, my camps kind of changed a little bit. I hooked up with Dundee Kim early on in my pro career as well, because he had noticed me and goes, I'll get you to promote my shoes, and I promoted Dundee shoes, and then he's like, maybe we could, like, I can help you out a little bit, do some pads, and I did some pads with him, and it was really good. I was like, this is really good, and he became my strength and conditioning coach at that point, and I was with Dundee for a couple of days a week, so I'd see Glenn a few times a week, and then I'd go see Dundee a couple of times a week, and that worked well for me. I had that breakup in not having to go to the one place all the time and have that, I guess,
mundane.
Yeah. Just listening to the same person saying the same
Yeah.
things all the time. I could have that other opinion, which I had in the amateurs anyway, because I had Glenn and I had all these Australian coaches and other coaches from the States putting input into me, and I felt like this worked with Dundee and Glenn together, and I could go see Dundee, work on some nice short, sharp punches with his pad work, because I really like that type of pad work. And Glenn's was the more awkward style that was the essence of what made me different and made me awkward to all these other guys.
When you talk about like boxing psychology, for example, how often do you win a fight or lose a fight based on a split second, say, mistake of whether it's a lapse in concentration or just that split second moment that you're off that can cost you a win or loss?
Thankfully, I've never been knocked out, like just cold in the ring, which is what can happen if you make a split decision error of going one way when you should have gone the other way.
So that's typically what the error would be?
Yeah, or just slowing down or
okay.
just doing the same thing a couple of times, and the opponent goes, oh, he's doing that, and then they see that and they fire a good shot and get you with it. So if you're not concentrating, that's what can happen. And I've got guys like Sam Columban, absolutely awesome fighter. I thought I was going 10 hard rounds with him, and I was able to knock him out in 78 seconds, which is a highlight reel knockout for me. And look, he's been in world class fights before, so I was very lucky to get those shots.
I was just going to say, but a key element of that though, like again, you're very humble. It's part of it's not luck that you're not ending up in those situations. The way you move, the awkwardness, that clearly has something to do with it.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that movement and stuff throws these guys off and they might feel more comfortable with you, or they might feel more awkward and try something different that they don't normally do, and that's when they get got.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
How do you? Because I mean, we can imagine how you train for, say, fitness, for example, or technique or anything like that. You can train. But in terms of concentration, how do you train for that? How do you stay switched on for such a long period of time?
I think that's just a person-to-person basis, really, too. And
Okay.
I guess it's training. It was always I would always train like it was a fight.
Okay.
So I'll do, if I was doing a 3-round fight in the amateurs, I'll do a block of 3 minutes. So it was 3-3-minute rounds. And I'll do a block on the bag, say that was a 3-3-minute round block, and finish that. And then I'd go on to skipping or something like that. Might do a few 3 by 3 minute rounds of skipping, or change it up with step ups or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You would always just do blocks of that. And that's exactly what I did in the pros, I guess. If I was doing a 6-round fight, I'd do six round blocks and 8-round blocks, 10-round blocks. Yeah.
Do you miss that aspect of your, like, that was your career for such a long time and you're not doing it anymore? Do you miss it?
No.
You don't miss it at all.
I guess I wouldn't have probably quit if I still had the love for it. And I think I lost the love for the sport when I gave it up. It would just became about more money and dollars, because my goal from the very start in boxing was to become a world champion, and I did that against Manny Pacquiao. So I guess lesson to anyone else or the aspiring boxers out there: put your goal high, because then if you just miss, say if I would have said my goal is to become a unified world champion, so the champion of the four belt era, so having all 4 of them. And if you just got one of them, like what I did against Manny Pacquiao, even though he was considerably probably one of the best out there, you'll be happy.
I'm looking forward to talking about that fight shortly. But before we do, we were fortunate enough last year to have Glenn Bosch, champion jockey, on our show. And he was talking about cutting weight before big race days. And it was fascinating to hear the techniques he used. So I want to ask you, Jeff Horn, how did you cut weight before fights? What were your techniques, secrets? What was the most grueling one you might have done?
Yeah. So basically the gist of how I made weight, I would try and eat, I guess, less food or different types of food to make sure you could cut down just a little bit of weight in the fight preparation. But normally 80% of the weight that you lose is pre-fight day. So on weigh-in day. So, and 24 hours out from that is when I start going, okay, now we have less food. We start to have less in our stomach. So your stomach's empty. You go to the water loss method, and that's a lot of the guys now. And I did this, I guess, a little bit. You drink a lot. You can overload with water, and then the body just wants to keep flushing it out, and then it over flushes it out, and then you're ended up with very little, I guess, less water than you normally would, and that's how you lose weight. But mine was a lot in the amateur days. I would use a sauna.
Yep.
And then I found out that didn't feel very nice, the sauna.
Didn't like it?
Not really. Like, I like sauna now these days, but I can stay in it for as long as I want, and I'm not getting out of it, drying myself and stepping on the scales, and then having to jump back in there again and go, I really want this drink of water, but I can't drink it because
There's a different purpose to it.
Yeah.
Did it ever get really close to almost you're not going to make weight ever?
Whenever I made weight, I tried to make it bang on.
Okay.
So, or either a couple 100 grams under.
Okay.
Just to maybe that might be the safety net. But I normally tried to make it basically bang on the weight. So you used to have an official scales that you used to have to weigh on. So you would calibrate that to your scale. So I'd go check my weight on the official scales. So say I'm 71 kilos on that scales, I go weigh myself on my scales and I'm 70 kilos, I know there's a kilo difference.
Okay.
So if I weigh 70 kilos on mine, I'm good on the official scales.
Jeez, you got to do your due diligence, don't you? Like, not everyone would probably know that. Or is
Yeah.
that a real common myth in there?
I guess a lot of fighters would do it. They might have their own set of scales that I would sometimes bring my scales to an official weigh-in, like not the official weigh-in, but just before where they have the trial weight and the stare-offs and whatever, and I'd step on their scales, then step on my scales, and I'd go, yep, I would have that calibrated all good. But
How did you like let's talk about the media press, before those bigger fights and the stare-offs? It doesn't seem like you're not a trash talker, you're not that kind of guy. How did you feel in those moments? Was it awkward? Was it enjoyable? Did you have to have a certain person tell you, mate, you should say this, you shouldn't say
mind
this?
games.
Yeah, like what was the process like for you?
look, sometimes it was a little bit awkward, but majority of the time it was just basically I was there. Oh, every time I was there to do a job, and I knew that didn't really mean too much, and I got to step in the ring with them the day after. No matter what they said to me, we're going to be getting in the ring and throwing fists at each other. So we'll see where all the talking.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I just normally would just stare them straight in the eyes and not basically blink, and I just feel like I'm just seeing what this person, how, like, you can kind of see how their confidence is, and some of them were, majority of my opponents were confident. I could see that, and when you see that in your opponent that they're confident in beating you, that should probably make you more scared, but that made me more, I guess, willing to try and break them down, which is what you hear Tim do all the time. He's like, I don't mind, I want to break their will, basically. So once you step in the ring with them, they'll start knowing, oh crap, this is not what I was expecting. Yeah.
One of our favourite questions we love asking any athlete or ex-athlete on our show, we love the trash talk no matter what sport. Have they ever had a sledge that you almost just go, like, you almost want to clap and say, mate, well done. You got me. Like, I know in the moment you'd be so you'd be concentrating so hard, but maybe now, does anything come to mind where you think, gee, that was actually quite clever? Or
how did he know that about me?
Or any good sledges, or did you throw any good sledges that you were quite happy with, or nothing comes to mind?
No, nothing really.
Damn.
Look, Michael Zarafa was pretty nasty, and I think that was real nastiness.
Okay.
He generally, I think, disliked me at the time and wanted to beat me up.
Was personal?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess he was a stepping stone to me to get to a bigger fight, and I underestimated him the first time I fought him, which was a big mistake in my career to have done that. But
so, do you think that result was based off your lack of preparation? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, not preparation. I still trained hard. Maybe the diet probably went out the window a little bit because I fought up, I think, at middleweight.
Okay.
So he was a bigger guy that I probably should have respected more about the size difference. But
Gotcha.
I was just like, I should have the skills here to get done. So that mindset that I had, even just saying it now, was the reason I lost, because I underestimated how good he was, because he is a very good boxer, and if you underestimate him just a little bit, he'll get you.
Does any fights come to your mind, maybe even in the amateur days, but of people that just don't stop talking the whole fight? They're just chatting.
Throughout a fight?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or is that not common?
That's pretty uncommon. I feel like I did have that in the past. I can't remember the guy's name though who did it, but I can remember.
What's it like?
Talking.
What's that like?
It's annoying.
You get puffed.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
Well, it's normally sledging.
Yeah.
Normally they're trying to get in your head and make you feel uncomfortable, which it probably did, but it probably spurred me more to then want to hurt them more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, but that's sometimes what they're trying to draw, because then they're trying to draw that attack from you, then to counter you with something that they're looking for. So it is a dangerous thing. Because sometimes they're just an idiot. I've had probably more idiots probably in sparring than in actual fights.
Really?
Yeah, I've had people in sparring before do some silly things. And
Are they like what up and comers looking for experience, and they're trying to leave some kind of mark on you?
Yeah, some younger ones, younger fighters, probably trying to make a name for themselves, and they're a bit cocky and feel like they might have been a little bit bigger and that they could handle me pretty easily, and they start saying, come on, what is that all you got? And things like that. It's just like,
You're world champ, come on.
yeah.
Is that the pathway for guys like on the up? Is that what they try to do, get to spar with some of the greats? Is that what people tend to do?
I guess you do try and spar as many, I guess, up there fighters as you can, because that's just as valuable as having the fight experience as well.
How do you even get to that? Like, is that if I was a boxer and I wanted to spar with you, how do I make that happen? What's the process?
I guess your coach would call probably my coach
Okay.
or team and go, I'd really love to get in some rounds. I think I'd suit your probably next opponent.
Okay.
I can do this, or I can fight like this. If you need any rounds, I can give it to you. So I don't know.
Okay.
What about, God, I don't know why, I just got lost for a second. We were talking about this on the way, and this is, I love this because I do really want to know. How many, say out of 10, you know, when there's all the shit talk, trash talk before a fight, and then the fight happens and you see the two come together and hug and they whisper each other, man, that, you know, it might be...
I love you.
Yeah, yeah, I love you, man. That was amazing. How many of them actually, you know, do you walk out of the ring and it's respect for one another? How many out of 10 have you experienced that not be the case, or has it always been respect?
No, there's always a healthy respect, I guess, in the sport of boxing. Like normally, you might say some stuff to each other pre-fight, but you don't really mean much of it, or the opponent doesn't. And normally there's respect, because if they've been able to stand in a ring for you against you at your 100%, trying to take them out, and they last, normally there's a lot of respect there. And that goes both ways with both opponents.
That's interesting.
Is there many friendships to the point where you'd actually get a drink with them, like these days, even like you might have, or does it just sort of filter out after the fight's been and gone? I'm talking about the real big fights that are, you know, months in advance.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't say that I would sit down with past opponents that I've had and have a drink talk about fights, but it doesn't really happen, I guess, too often for me anyway.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't probably do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like going to an Olympic Games? You know, obviously 2012.
Yep.
Like that was huge. London, like I even remember watching the Olympic Games. What a huge deal that was for you. You know, being in the Olympic Village and with the other Aussies, and what was that whole experience like?
Look, it was a dream come true, I guess.
Yeah.
Walking alongside the famous athletes that I'd looked up to when I was as a kid, or just the ones that are on TV at the time, performing on the world stage, and I was like, this is cool. Like you're walking alongside these people, living in the same venue as these people, and eating at the same place as these people, and it's just like, this is cool. Like hanging around these type of athletes, and it was what you were aspired to kind of be as professional as those guys were.
What do you rank that experience in terms of everything you've done in the sport? How high is representing Australia?
Look, it's pretty high. Like other than, I guess, my world title wins, it's pretty up there, I guess, competing on that stage. The world is watching, I guess, for the Olympic Games, and I made it pretty far. Not as far as I would have liked, but it was still extraordinary, I guess, and I had a lot of support from back home when I was in London.
Amazing.
What's it like in your mind after a loss? So, especially like, you know, towards the end of your professional career, that last year or couple of years, you had those couple of losses. What was it like in your mind after that? Because you'd won for so long, like for years and years and years, and you were the king, and things were always going your way. Mm-hmm. What was it like in your mind when you had a couple of losses in a row, and all of us? Was that when you realised you wanted to stop fighting, or?
Look, it was depressing.
Yeah?
I guess when you have a couple of losses, it's like, what am I doing? Am I in this? You start thinking, am I in this for the right reasons and all that? And then I reflect on the fight camp. It's like, did I really put in 100%? And normally you can say, there's things that I missed out that I could have done, and dietary wise, did I cheat a little bit here and there where I normally I wouldn't? And you're like, I've paid for the little things that I kind of let slip here and there.
Well, and on the flip side, when you're world champ, what's that mindset like? And I've heard rumours, and I don't know how true this is, so you can answer for us, but does everybody actually refer to you as champ? Is that what they call you? Because that's the one time it's actually acceptable to get champed.
Look, I guess I have get called champ sometimes, but I think it's just an Aussie thing. Hey, champ.
Yeah.
As well. So
I don't like it.
Well, we don't like it, but we're not walking around with the world championship on our shoulder.
yeah, look, it's not something I guess really thought about.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether I guess when I was called world champion, I guess it's a pretty cool feeling. But now I can just get called former world champion, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I can do.
I'm sure that, and maybe we talk about the Manny Pacquiao fight, but because you just became like this massive name. Like after that, how does it go from becoming? I mean, from we listen to you talk about this actually somewhere else, and you can probably walk through daylight and no one really notices who you are. You have one fight, and then all of a sudden, like you're getting stopped all the time, and people want a piece of you, and all of a sudden you've got all these people in your corner. Explain to us that whole change of life for you.
Yeah. So the big change, like there was a little bit of a change when I was fighting those big fights versus top 15 ranked opponent.
Of course.
And then the promoters like promoting me all the time on TV, on Foxtel. So there was a little bit, and as people would notice me, but it was very rare that would happen. And after the Pacquiao fight, it was like there wasn't one human being that didn't know who I was. Just at a certain point in time. And I can remember going through a rainforest somewhere a while away, and there was basically no people through that rainforest. And then the one person that we've come across, they knew exactly who I was. I was just like, I felt like I couldn't escape. It was like when you had that type of fame attached to you, you felt like you were trapped, like in a prison of like, you couldn't really go anywhere or do anything because there'd be someone wanting a piece of you. So it was a change of life at that point. And
So did you like it or not?
No.
No. That's interesting.
No. Like I guess everyone probably wishes like that they would be famous and that would be cool to have, but could you imagine when you step outside and you have a line of people with cameras in your face or in a video camera trying to get you to say something and a microphone, and then other people lining up trying to get photos? As nice as you can be and say I would take photos with people, but if you start just getting a line more, because once you get one, someone goes, "Oh, who's taking the photo? Oh, it's that person. Oh, they don't mind.
Oh, it's Danny Green."
They might not even know who you are, but they're like, I should get a photo because everyone else is getting a photo. So people are...
Never ends.
Yeah, people are a bit sheepish, I feel like, and they'll just jump in and go, oh, I should do this because everyone else is doing it, so I should do it.
Yeah, that does make sense.
We can't wait for you to take us to this moment, but 52,000, Suncorp, your home country, home city, against Pacquiao. To tell us that day, talk to us about that day. I don't know if it's a blur. I know you've probably been asked a million times, but
it is a bit of a blur these days. But I can remember just preparation as normal. I guess making weight process. I used to use the hot bath to make the weight. So everything was the same. I used to have a little poker match the day before.
Did you? Yeah.
With the team. Did that. So everything that I normally did in that routine was basically the same, and the only thing is I went to probably bed a little bit earlier for the Pacquiao fight, so I didn't have a late poker game. It was the poker game. I think it was straight after weigh-in, because the fight was a midday fight rather than a nighttime fight.
How do you even sleep? How do you sleep that night?
I don't know. I feel like sleep is my superpower. To be honest.
Oh, we found it. There we go.
I'm pretty good at sleeping. I can sleep pretty well nearly anywhere.
That's good. That's a skill I wish I had.
Yeah. So I do have a comfortable bed now.
Yeah.
But I am pretty good at sleeping.
Yeah. And how did you find the build up to that fight compared to other fights that you had in respect to all your opponents? What was the comparison? Was it very similar? Was it a big difference?
Look, it felt pretty much the same,
Yeah.
but I'd prepared for every fight in a similar way as of fighting a 12-round fight. I needed to, I guess, be super fit and as fit as I could be, and I prepared as well as I could for the Pacquiao fight. You always have little injuries and niggles throughout the way, but you just push through them or try and manage them as best as possible to make it to that end time.
Yep.
And what's that feeling like when you come out and the pop of the crowd? Like, I'd be just so interested to
Yeah. What song did you go with when you came out?
Seven Nations Army, White Stripes.
Great song.
Good one. Good one. Gets a crowd singing too. So. But are you taking it all in, or are you trying to block it out?
Look, I don't mind. I was probably experienced enough in that fight that I had some crowds before, but never at a stadium or anything like that.
It's incredible.
With that many people. But I guess I'd pictured it so many times in my head what it might look like, and just having a whole heap of people screaming and yelling and cheering you on. So I knew that would happen. I guess I was expecting it. I had mentally prepared for it. So, I just walked straight to the ring, which is where I had to go. It was fair hike to get there on the stadium wall.
Well, just but the thing is, how far did you grow up from Suncorp, roughly? Like how close to Brisbane did you grow up?
30 minutes.
Yeah, so that is just, to me, that is so sentimental. Like, I just can't imagine that feeling you would have felt to be like, I'm in my home city in the biggest fight, of your life for world championship. Like, it just, it boggles my mind to even imagine putting myself in your shoes.
It is. It's crazy, and I guess it was a dream. It was a dream come true that day, and I guess I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Yeah. Because it came to obviously a decision. It went the full hog. Let's just say that. When it comes to points, is that something in your mind too? Like you're a world champ, you won it, but are you still? I can imagine you still thinking, I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently, and the fight could have been done quicker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure. Do you? Does that go through your mind,
Look,
even though you won?
Having that fight against Pacquiao, knowing how boxing kind of works and how they favour the champion and all that type of thing, and the A side, Pacquiao was all of that. He was the champion. He was the A side. He had everything going for him. You could tell he was pretty cocky throughout it, just being on his phone and running up late and things like that. So he was a superstar. So I felt like I had to knock him out to get that victory because the judges probably weren't going to give it to me. But so I fought that fight like I was trying to stop Manny Pacquiao. I was doing the best I could to try and make him quit, but he was too good, obviously. He's too good. He's a great boxer, and I wasn't able to get rid of him. So he almost got rid of me in the 9th round, but I was able to push through that and then try and get rid of him again in round 10, 11, 12. And so standing at the end of that fight, waiting for the decision, I was like, I don't know if they're going to give this to me. Like,
did you think you'd?
I felt like I'd won. I felt like I'd done enough. Even going back to my corner every round, I felt like they're like, yes, you won that round. Good job.
So are they giving you updates? Are they kind of saying this is?
They can't give you a proper update.
No. But I mean, your team. Like, are they saying, okay, we think this is where you're at?
Yeah. Well, you think you won that round? Well done. And I kept going back. They've kept saying, yep, well done. That was a good round. I think you got that one. So it kept on happening, kept on going back, kept on having the reinforcement. I was like, yeah, I felt like I am winning, but I need to still knock this guy out. So I still need to push hard and fight the whole fight in the whole 12 rounds as best as I could and stop him if possible.
That result probably defeats the purpose of this question, but is there bias in boxing towards the end when it comes to judging?
There shouldn't be, but and some judges and a lot of judges that do judge say no, they wouldn't have any bias, but I feel like a human being can't help but being biased sometimes. If they know that there's a super champion like Manny Pacquiao fighting in a fight, depending on how you're meant to be trained how to watch the fight and watch the punches landing by each fighters, but sometimes very hard when the crowd is cheering and you're watching, and how do you exactly score a fight, because the judges' perception of ring gap control, landed punches, aggression, all these things are going to come into account. But then the crowd cheering at certain points of the fight can sway them, I feel like, to go a different direction.
Well, and I find that interesting because there are a lot of conspiracy theorists in the boxing world, and like you hear about, the one that comes to my mind is I hear a lot about is Floyd Mayweather, and that's the name that gets brought up in terms of he likes to fight on his own terms, at his own place, in front of sometimes his own judges. I don't know how true any of that is, but do you ever, like, even after the fight, do you cop it, whether it's social media, from people that feel like you've won but you didn't deserve to win? Like, what's it like when it's so tight?
Yeah. Non-stop. Non-stop on social media. I'm getting flack from people, and I can put up a picture of my family doing something on a holiday or something, and I'll still get flack from people saying, you're not a world champion.
Really?
You're a disgrace to the sport. And it's just like, man.
How do you win?
Say that to his face.
You can't win. But even though they'll say it to my face, I don't care.
I know.
They can say it to my face. I know in myself, so it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I felt like I won that fight, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about now post-retirement, and starting off with family. What's it been like now, being able to spend some really quality time with your family?
Look, it's great being able to, I guess, spend more time than usual with the family, and I'm really enjoying it. Get to watch my girls grow up and have this time when they're younger at home, and spend that time with them and play games with them that a normal dad would only be able to do either after work or on the weekends. And it's pretty cool to be able to do that.
And Bullyproof. Talk to us about Bullyproof, because this is amazing what you're doing.
Yep, so Bullyproof Australia was, I guess, started from Frank Meckler, and he brought it to me to say, I've got this idea to put this program in schools. And I was like, oh, it sounds good. Like, I was an ambassador for his Kung Fu program that he was doing. I was like, it sounds good, but it sounds too hard for me to figure out. And I took it to Glenn. I was like, I'll bring your idea to Glenn, and I'll put them two together. And we ended up forming a partnership between the three of us. And
so what does it look like? So you go out to schools. That's what you're telling us earlier. What is the program?
Yep. So we have the Amada Resilience program, which we run at the schools, and we basically teach kids how to manage conflict. So it's not a skill really taught at schools.
So true.
They say either ignore the person or go tell a teacher, but sometimes that's not the best way to stop something happening, because kids are relentless sometimes, especially on social media these days. It's what tactics can you use to kind of either get someone to stop, or then giving them, potentially back in the day we gave them the physical of how to move, how to defend yourself, those capabilities in case someone was to attack them.
Yep.
And how do you, obviously you have a strong bond with it based on what happened to you as a kid, but also now as a father, and your daughter's about to go through the age of going through school, so obviously it must mean it's an important message to you personally. Yeah,
it is. And look, we're consistently developing the program as well, and we're starting to develop a primary school program, which is 100% what I want my daughter to be, I guess, going through, because I feel like they learn things that they should be learning, how to manage like conflict, even at a young age. Yeah. That's when bullying starts very early on in your life, and if it's not taken care of, it gets worse and worse as you get older. And I'll be making sure that my kids know how to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure.
As best as they can.
Well, it's even something I think back on. Like, I didn't get bullied much, but I remember getting bullied some stage, and I reckon a lot of kids probably did, whether it was verbal, physical in your case, to a certain extent. But again, you'd go and tell the teacher, and that was it, and nothing would happen. Nothing would happen.
That's what we felt like. It was, what's the point? What's the point of telling a teacher? You just either basically, what I did was like, I'll fight back. So
maybe behind the recess wall, the rebound wall.
But were you going to go down the pathway of becoming a teacher too? Was that?
I did become a teacher.
You did become a teacher.
I missed that part of
it. yeah. So that was your plan if boxing didn't turn out.
So after school finished, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't do very well at school. I wasn't like a A+ student or anything. So I needed to go to TAFE to then upgrade my OP to then. I did that for a year to upgrade to go to. So I did an advanced diploma in sport and recreation, and that got me to get into teaching straight after that. So I basically was doing my teaching degree at the same time I was an amateur boxer fighting, basically along the same timeline. So yeah.
I've got a question for Jeff before we finish. Now, I want you to think of the time in your career when you're at your absolute prime. I don't know what age that is or what comes to mind, but absolute prime Jeff Horn. Now, I want you to give us a top 5 dream fights. If time wasn't a thing, you can go back as far as you want. Who would you have loved to fight? You know, just a dream world, whether it's Ali, for example, like, no matter who it is, who would you love to have fought?
Look, it's probably the one biggest name that I probably missed, and the biggest name probably in boxing at the stage. And I called him out straight after my fight against Pacquiao, and that was Floyd Mayweather. Like, I would have liked to have seen, because he's the best defensive fighter, I guess, that's ever lived. He's very, very good defensively, so it would have been great to try and hit him. I felt like my style would have probably roughed him up, and I don't know. Or maybe I wouldn't have been able to touch him. Who knows?
What was his response?
I don't think he did respond.
Nah.
I think he was just like, small fish.
Yeah, okay.
So Floyd's one. Who else is on this list if in dream fights? Who?
Look, this is what probably made me probably good at boxing, is that I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
Who I fought, when I fought, just give me a fight.
Yeah.
I'm probably still like that these days. And
Come on, Dossie, step up.
if it was a big money fight, like, yeah, sure, then I would take like a star, like what you're saying is like a Jake Paul or something. Even though he's probably a bigger guy, it's a payday.
Well, then I'll flip the question a little bit. Who would be your top 3, putting aside yourself, who's your top 3 favourite boxers of all time?
Oh, I wouldn't put myself in that list, would I?
Well, that's a point. We get to take you out of that, so you don't have to either say yourself or not say yourself.
Well, Pacquiao was definitely probably number 1 on my list. He was a fighter that I definitely looked up to when I was, I guess, started watching boxing, and to come up from so many weight divisions and be as explosive as he was probably one of the best. And other than him, Floyd Mayweather was probably defensively, as I said, he was probably one of the best fighters out there, and that was it. Really.
What about Aussies? Who do you think is number 1 in
at the moment, or when
of all time?
Of all time, probably Costa Zoo.
Yeah, Costa Zoo.
Yeah, he's done the best, I guess, so far.
This is going to sound really random, but I just remember Costa Zoo being on Dancing with the Stars. Did you ever get an invite on that, Jeff?
I've been invited on a fair few reality shows.
Have you?
Any temptations anywhere?
I don't think they could pay me enough.
Really?
Not even Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. No.
Something like that, maybe, but not.
Oh, you heard it first.
Who knows?
But yeah, Dancing with the Stars, that would be a hard one, I reckon.
Oh, it would be.
Yeah.
I feel like, as I said, I'm not probably a classic boxing style, so that footwork and stuff.
I bet it could salsa-ish.
I don't know.
Could expand.
Have you thought this far in the future, let's say 15 years, when, and I hope you don't hate me for asking this question, but let's say your daughters are now 18, 20, 25, and maybe some guys are starting to come to the door. How are you going to handle that situation? Because if there's one person I don't really want to shake hands with on the first date with the father, it might be a pro boxer. So how are we going to handle that situation?
They won't remember me by then anyway. But look, it is a thought, I guess, that goes through my head. It's just like, I just hope.
Yeah.
Like me and my wife's relationship is, hopefully they see how to treat each other, and they can select a person out there that will treat them how they should be treated. So as long as, I guess,
is there any intimidation factors going to come?
Nah.
Squeezing their hand.
Yeah.
I don't
got a
think
good handshake.
So.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I feel like it's tempting, right? As a dad.
Yeah, well, I've always thought about. I'm obviously not a dad, but I wonder, how you'd play that situation. But it's even more intriguing as a,
as a fighter. I was like, I could actually beat you up.
Yeah, exactly. Like you.
Normally, the son, the boyfriend or something could probably thinks he's like, oh, I could take
I
it.
could take the old
Yeah,
man.
the old fella.
He's old.
Well, do you have any more questions
Nah,
for
but
the
mate,
Hawk?
I've loved it. So, Jeff, just want to say, mate, a massive thank you for your time, for one, and two, for being just so open, honest, and being yourself, because you've had an incredible career and
Humble, really
very humble man. So we
Thank
appreciate your time and looking forward to seeing what the future holds for you going forward.
Cheers.
And
I
how do we
appreciate
get
you having me
involved
on.
in bully proof, or how do we, if there's any? What's
yeah,
the
look,
best way?
there's a bullyproof website out there. I think it's bullyproof.org.
Okay.
If you want to go search it and have a look at it. They always, I guess, accept donations because it is a charity.
Yep.
Putting programs in schools
Yep,
for
great.
kids. But just, I guess, saying it,
Yeah.
saying the name bullyproof.
Yep.
It's just getting it out there,
Exactly.
getting people talking about it is a big thing as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Jeff. We had a blast. We've been so excited for this for a long time. So thank you for coming in and just appreciate your time and how open you were. So thank you.
Too easy. Thanks,
Awesome,
guys.
mate.